Hello everybody and welcome back to Screen Stars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2019 horror remake Pet Sematary, a film that is directed by Kevin Kolsch and Dennis Widmeyer. It stars Jason Clarke, we have Amy Seimetz, John Lithgow and Jade Lawrence. Now this is a film that has been remade from the 1989 original that was based on the Stephen King novel as well. And I shall be open and honest up front, I wasn't a fan of the original Pet Sematary film. I've probably only seen it once, maybe twice in my lifetime, and it didn't really do anything for me at the time. It was not particularly scary, I don't think, the first Pet Sematary, but I am aware that people do quite like that film. So I wasn't overly excited for this film, but most Stephen King novels, if they're done right on the big screen, you can get some really marvellous efforts. So I was hopeful to see that this being put up on screen and done so in a quality fashion. And what is this film about? Well, this film focuses on Jason Clarke's family, who move out to the country to get away from it all. He's a doctor. He's working at a local medical centre. The family's got this nice, lovely country house with loads of ground out the back. They've got a lovely neighbour, John Lithgow, who they befriend fairly quickly, and their daughter, Ellie, befriends really quickly. They discover that they have a pet cemetery in the back garden. And they are then informed when there is a pet, their cat dies, and they are informed, well, Jason Clarke's character Lewis is informed by John Lithgow's character that there is a very special pet cemetery within the grounds out the back that has got some like ancient history behind it, which is all explained in the film. And you kind of think, I think you know where this is going. The cat comes back to life. It's not very pleasant. There's a tragedy takes place within the family, and guess what happens next? Right, so I'm guessing most of the people who are watching this already know the story of Pet Sematary, either from the book or the previous film, or just from watching the write-up of this film, etc. Now, I'm not really sure where to go with my opinion on this film. I'll start off by saying, I've got to be honest, I wasn't overly impressed with this film. I thought it was well made for a start. I thought the cast was all fine, even though Jason Clarke's character Lewis was particularly dull, and I'm not a huge fan of him as an actor. Films he tends to be in tends to be films that I'm not really a big fan of. I'm not a huge fan of Jason Clarke, if I'm honest, but I don't think it's his fault. I think his character is written particularly dull. The two best characters here are Rachel and Judd, played by John Lithgow and Amy Seimetz. They do really well with the characters that they've been given. However, John Lithgow's character is basically just exposition. His character is just there for exposition, even though he chews every scene that he's in, basically, and he does a really good job with his performance. And Jade Lawrence as Ellie, as the young actress, gives a really good performance as the child, the really sweet child that you can relate to, and the darker version of that child, if you like, that comes back later. I didn't have a problem with the changes that they made. Some people might. I didn't. In regards to the first film, it was a boy. In this one, it was the girl, the older girl. I thought that worked better because you can get a better performance from a little bit older actor. I just found, apart from the last 20 minutes or so of this film, where it got much more interesting, I thought the first 40-50 minutes of this film was just a bit dull, and just packed, absolutely packed full of literally at the point where they were reading books about Wendigos, and Wendigos, what are they called, them creatures that are supposed to be possessing the spirits and stuff in the film, and it just wasn't grasping my attention. I at all for large chunks of the film. And then it starts getting a bit interesting when the pet comes back, and big props to the cat. It was a great actor. It was a good performance by the cat, you'll be pleased to know. So that's 2 films in a month now with good performances by cats. First in Captain Marvel with Goose, and now in Pet Sematary. So there's a good cat acting school out there somewhere. So yeah, I'm not sure. It just didn't blow wind up my skirt, this film, at all. I didn't find it particularly scary, even though there was some fairly creepy imagery going on now and again, and some tense moments, and the jump scares it gives you in here didn't feel cheap, because there are a couple of early jump scares, and one genuinely made me almost jump out of my seat. It worked really well. And the last 20 minutes, when the tension really ramps up and the horror elements really ramp up, I thought that was particularly well done and pretty effective. And the ending was alright. It did its job well, you know what I mean? Particularly creepy ending, I think. An ominous ending. But it just didn't hold my attention up to the last 20-25 minutes. It just felt a bit boring, and just a little bit full of exposition, and too much explaining. So yeah, it's an odd one, this one. I genuinely, when I was walking out from watching it, I was thinking, oh, I'm not sure I like this at all. And then I started thinking about things I enjoyed about it, which was some of the imagery and some of the tension building, in the last 20-30 minutes of it. And I thought, well, yeah, they did a good job with that. And it was almost like once they got the first stuff out of the way at the beginning of the film, stuff they felt they needed to, the exposition and the explanations and stuff, they could just kind of let loose and go for it for the last 30 minutes or so. Yeah, so a dull main character. Jason Clarke's main character was dull. Too much exposition, a bit dull, dragged a bit, but the last half an hour was pretty good. But I wouldn't call it gory, this film, and I wouldn't particularly call it scary, even though there was some effective tension building going on in the film. But you won't be quaking in your seat, put it that way. I certainly wasn't, even though there are a couple of scenes where you'll jump here and there. So yeah, it's a decent effort, I would say. It's not a bad Stephen King adaptation by any means, and it's one that may actually grow on me in the future. I will definitely give it another chance. So yeah, that's my review for Pet Sematary. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time on Screen Stars.